Call to order. Fifth meeting of the Conejo Recreation and Park District Board of Directors to order. And at this time, I'd like to ask Ian if you'd please lead us in the flag salute.
Right hand over your heart.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Director Lang.
Here.
Director Nichols.
Yes.
Director Huffer.
Yes.
Director Cussworth.
Yes.
Director Buss.
Here.
Okay, thank you. And this evening, as you noticed on the agenda, we're starting with a closed session. It shouldn't be more than 15 minutes.
So the board members, you might want to start heading over to the park room if you want, but pursuant to Government Code Section 54.956.9 and 54.956.95, workers' comp claimant Jesse Barron. We will be joined by Zoom with attorney Chris Griffin of Griffin, Lotz and Holman. No announcement is expected, and again, we should be back in 15.
To those who weren't here before, we welcomed you and we had a call to order. We had our flag salute. And the board is just returning from a closed session item. And so we're going to continue with our meeting. We're moving on to item 4, special presentation. Orchard Skate Park, past, present, and future. Let's hear about that future.
All right. Good evening, members of the board, Mr. Friedel, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Kurt Gunning. I'm the Recreation Supervisor of the Borchard Community Center and the Borchard Skate Park. The Conejo Recreation Park District were pioneers in the area of skateboarding and skateboarding in this community. In the mid 1990s, you can see the pictures here, we started putting ramps on our outside basketball courts. This was before anybody else was doing skate parks, concrete skate parks, or anything like that. So we were pioneers in the field of recreational skateboarding. In 2001, after a lengthy planning process involving focus groups and the local skate community, the current Borchard Skate Park was built. We were the first permanent skate park in the region. And over the years, our skate park has really turned into something special. Most public skate parks are built, opened, and then forgotten. We took a different path. The Borchard Community Center has embraced the skateboarding community, and through the hard work of our staff, specialists over the years, we've offered a wide array of programs consisting of birthday parties, skate contests, scooter contests, bike contests, skate lessons, and much, much more. Our current skate park has served our community well, providing lessons and programming for hundreds, if not thousands, of youth, including them into the skateboarding community. The current skate park is a special place for the local skate community, and many professional skateboarders call it home. In the over 20 years since the skate park was built and opened, skate park design has progressed, liability limits have changed for the better, and the demand for public skate parks has increased. Our current park has served our community well, but with time comes wear. Our current park's coping, that's the metal parts that skateboarders grind on, is starting to wear thin. Concrete is starting to chip in places, and this park is in desperate need of repair. Our programs have also outgrown the skate park. We are now utilizing not only the skate park, but the parking lot beside the skate park for programming and contests. We are mere months away from a groundbreaking of our new skate park, a state-of-the-art skate park. Our new skate park will incorporate all the lessons we've learned in skate park design and programming to build the perfect skate park for our community. We've teamed up with California Skate Parks, the same design and build firm that built the parks in Tokyo and Paris for the Olympics. You can see here, shade sails have been incorporated into the design for both skaters and spectators. We'll have a spectator area for seating, and the addition of the lighting will extend usable times of the skate park into the evening. We've had the opportunity to incorporate the needs of our staff and programming into the design of the new park, making this park purpose-built, not just for the community, but for the programming that we're doing for our community. This skate park and its layout will give us the ability to run classes teaching new different disciplines that we haven't been able to before, such as street, vert, flow, and more. The size of the park gives us the opportunity to run larger class sizes and run multiple classes at the same time, which means we will have the ability to give the park back to the public quicker when we're running programs. Now, our skate park isn't just concrete and coping. What makes our skate park really special is the staff that runs all the programs at our skate park. And here to introduce our fantastic staff is our coordinator, Michael Braff.
Thank you, Kurt. Good evening, CRPD board members, administration, and community. My name is Michael Braff. I'm the recreation coordinator at the Borchard Community Center. As Kurt stated, the success of our skate programs goes as far as the staff will take it, and we have a solid staff at Borchard. We have Aaron Yance. Aaron, yeah, go for it. Aaron started skating when he was 3 years old and took Borchard skate classes himself. He began volunteering for the Borchard skate classes at the age of 13 and was hired on as a CRPD employee in July 2021 and began teaching classes during the pandemic and continuing to this day. A fun fact about Aaron is that he was sponsored when he turned 15. We have Joel Wood. Joel started skating when he was 10 years old and took board skate classes as well. He was hired on as a CRPD employee in May of 2023. And a fun fact about Joel is his skate name for classes and programs is Cheese. We have Sophia Vicente. Sophia began skating in 2022. She began volunteering at the Borchard Skate Park in December 2023 and was hired on as a recreation aide in June of 2024. A fun fact about Sophia is that she participated in this past summer's X Games in Ventura and competed in the Battle of the 805 as the only girl in her division. We have Matthew Lawson, who is not able to be here tonight because of school, but he started skating at 4 years old and began taking Borchard skate classes at the age of 5, which ignited his passion for skateboarding. He was hired on as a CRPD employee in March of 2022, and a fun fact, he has never broken a bone in his body.
Oh, that's mean.
So, why does Borchard skate staff skate? The creativity aspect and the overall mental, physical, and psychological health. Perseverance. If you fall, you get right back up. And though it's a way for them to express themselves, build character through trial and error. I would like to introduce our Borchard Center skate park specialist, Taylor Krabenhoft. Taylor's path to the Conejo Recreation and Park District has been incredible. She is the founder and director of Sleep Talk Skates. Sleep Talk Skate started as a group that hosted skateboarding, craft, and music festivals, as well as weekly skateboard meetups. It grew into a partnership with the city of Moorhead Parks and Recreation in Minnesota, where they started the first ever youth skate program. Now, Sleep Talk Skate focuses on their magazine that highlights skateboarders, musicians, and artists in the community. She is also a member of the North Dakota Skateboarding Association, where she hosted weekly skateboard meetups for women and the LGBTQ community, assisted with building ramps, fundraising events, and maintaining the Hawk's Nest, which is the only indoor skate park in North Dakota. She was also the skateboard program coordinator for the city of Moorhead Parks and Recreation in Minnesota, where she worked to build the first skate park in the city in 21 years, as well as start the first youth skateboarding program in the history of the district, which she continues to lead remotely in California. Here to discuss more about current and upcoming CRPD skate programming, please welcome the Borchard Center Skate Park Specialist, Taylor Krabenhoff.
Good evening, esteemed members of the board. My name is Taylor Krabenhoft. I'm the Skate Park Recreation Specialist at Borchard Center. I'd like to start by sharing a little bit of my journey with skateboarding and how it has profoundly impacted my life. I found a love for skateboarding as a young girl, but unfortunately I didn't find a space in the community at my local skate park. It was difficult being a young girl in an environment full of older boys and adult men. Regrettably, I gave it up, but my passion remained inside. In 2020, I was struggling with both my mental and physical health. I rediscovered skateboarding in 2021 and made it a consistent part of my life by 2022. This passion led me to begin leading a healthier lifestyle, lose 75 pounds, improve my emotional regulation, and ultimately find a renewed sense of confidence and purpose. My position at CRPD is extremely personally fulfilling and it is a pleasure to come to work each day. I love my job and I love being able to share skateboarding with the community. It is amazing to watch the children we work with find confidence on the skateboard, which I know translates into other aspects of their life. I moved to California from Minnesota on October 1st, 2023, and started at CRPD 2 weeks after that. I've had so much fun in the last year growing into my position as recreation specialist and learning about the wonderful community here in the Conejo Valley. I'm so happy to be where I am, and it is amazing to be able to have a hand in growing our skateboard programs. I'd now like to take a moment to tell you what we've been up to in the last year. In 2024, we were able to host and participate in a few skateboarding events, including our annual Spring Skate Jam that has taken place at Borchard Skate Park for over 15 years now, as well as our first ever Go Skateboarding Day event that featured games, challenges, and prizes. When I heard that X Games was going to be in Ventura, I was hoping there would be an opportunity for CRPD Skate to get involved. Luckily, I was able to negotiate a cross-marketing deal with the X Games team. In exchange for hosting marketing materials for X Games at Borchard Skate Park, CRPD Skate was given the opportunity to have a booth at the event. This broadcasted our skateboard programs and our new skate park build project to the 50,000 plus people that attended the event over the weekend. In addition to the booth, we were awarded 105 X Games passes, which we were able to give out to our staff, students, volunteers, and the skateboarding community. Over the past year, we have been working on expanding our programming. We have been able to host programs at 8 different locations across the Conejo Valley, with our latest additions being at Sycamore Canyon and Banyan Elementary Schools. In addition to expanding locations, we have been working on bringing more structure into our existing programs. We have done this by implementing the skate skills checklist and our rainy day action plan. With the anticipation of our new skate park, we have gone ahead and ordered a new supply of portable ramps, which we can use to host programs while our skate park is out of commission for the build. These ramps will continue to be used for years to come at our mobile programs at parks and schools throughout the valley. This fall, we are excited to be offering many new programs, including Girls Skate, Adult Skate, Homeschool Skate, After School Skate, and Shred and Snap. Shred and Snap aims to bridge the gap between art and skateboarding. Students in Shred and Snap will learn about photography, take their own photos of tricks, interview each other, and create an imaginary skate brand with their own artistic designs. All this will go into making their very own skateboard magazine. And we passed out the first ever issue of that, so feel free to take that or page through it. The future is bright for CRPD Skate. With the expansion of our programs, locations, communities served, in our very own skate park, the growth is clear to see. In the not so far future, we hope to implement even more events and programs to better serve the diverse set of people within our community, including skate park movie nights, adaptive skateboarding, therapeutic skateboarding, board building workshops, and rec van skateboard pop-ups. I'd now like to go ahead and share with you all some words from our families who participate in our skateboard programs. This is from Teresa. She's a mother of some children in our programs. My 3 older kids love skate lessons with you guys. We've been taking classes for 3 years now, and the kids have grown and learned so much. My son, who is 6, struggles with confidence, and he's extremely shy, but he loves skateboarding and refuses to do any other sports now. I am so thankful I started him in lessons when he was younger. He rides a skateboard around in the house all the time and tic-tacs around the kitchen table. He is always showing me his latest improvements, and it is so special to me knowing how shy he is. Our twins, the 2 youngest, are excited to start lessons this coming session with their bigger brother. The kids love all the skate instructors. They are so good with the kids, and I think that makes a huge difference. We love CRPD Skate. In conclusion, skateboarding has profoundly transformed my life, and I'm committed to sharing its benefits with as many people as possible. Our events and programs are just the beginning. With your continued support, we can expand these initiatives, build stronger community connections, and make a lasting impact in the lives of those we serve. Thank you for your time. We are now open for any questions or comments.
Well, thank you very much. A great presentation, and to see how this is, the skateboard program has grown here at CRPD. I was here when we were first considering putting in this skate park and so forth, and the issues that we were challenged with when we initially put it in and so forth. So to see what it is today and what it was when we first started is fabulous. So thank you, everybody who participates in the program and supports it. Board members, any comments? Mr. Huffer?
Yeah, thanks for the information. I really had no idea that we had so many people involved with the skate park. I thought maybe we just had 1 or 2 people who hung out there because they had nothing better to do with their lives. But and I don't know if it was the picture we just selected, but I always pictured skateboarders as teenagers. But all these pictures you have of little kids participating in the class, I think, is wonderful. And the fact that you've got, looks like a couple of the programs involved with Safe Passage. Did you get Tim up on a skateboard?
No, we could make it happen though. No, we could do anything. I got one in my car.
I'm just curious about how many young people do you have going through our classes in any given year?
As far as about a year, I'm not quite sure on that number, but coming up in this fall session, we're about to have 12 classes a week, and each of those classes usually has around 16 kids.
Okay. And I noticed one of the slides, you had a list of all the different places where you're holding classes. I didn't see anything mentioned about the, and I don't know if they're permanent or temporary, but the ramps over at the teen center. Do you do any programming over at the teen center?
Yep, there are some programs held at the teen center, but the teen center pretty much handles those ones. So that's kind of their thing.
Okay. Again, thank you for the information, and thank you for everything you guys do, whether you started at age 3 or you only started a couple of years ago and you're already doing the X Games. So that's pretty amazing. So thank you all very much.
Director Cusworth.
Yes, that was very interesting. I don't really know much about skateboarding. And I just tried doing a scooter at the area over there by Sapwe, and I was terrified even on a scooter. So
Hold on to.
well, yeah, I was like just so I can't even imagine all the things you're doing with the skateboard. It looks incredibly dangerous, but I guess you're all surviving and doing it, and takes a lot of skill. So I think it's exciting that we're improving our ramp there, or skate park, that we're kind of you know we started, that we were innovative, and now we're moving up with the times. I think other people saw our example and they built them, and now we're kind of coming up. So it's good. And those pictures that you showed of the deteriorating skate park scared me. And I thought, oh yeah, we need to improve that. So thank you very much. That was highly enlightening. Great presentation.
Just to address the safety issue. So obviously you saw in the pictures, all of our classes, we require full pads. But the other big thing that this whole crew does is they teach the kids how to fall. Because if you fall wrong, that's when you get hurt. So a big portion of what they're doing is teaching the kids how to fall. So when they do go down, they don't get injured.
Thank you, Kurt. Yes, Director Bus.
I think this is awesome. So I started skateboarding when I was 12. It was a long time ago. Yeah, back in 94 when we didn't have skate parks. I remember the first one they built, I think it was in Simi, it was indoors and it was so cool. But now I'm a mom of a middle schooler and a 4th grader. And I have to say, it's so challenging sometimes to find them to do like activities for them at these ages. And so that's why I think that redoing the skate board park will be huge, because it will invigorate a lot of kids who maybe haven't tried it to be like, oh, there's something new, and it'll be a new draw. So I'm really excited for it. I was just asking Jim about it actually, because I go to that gym right there a couple days a week. And I was like, why haven't they broken ground? I thought you guys were breaking ground. So we discussed it today, and I think it's awesome. And yeah, being a girl who was a skateboarder was very, I think it was me and all the boys, but it was fun. And I think that it's really important that we have this for everyone, because it is such an inclusive sport that a lot of people are not aware of. So thank you so much for everything you do. And I think it's rad. We have so many little kids and coming to do these classes. I'm curious, do we often have a wait list for these classes, or are we able to
Well,
accommodate?
We, for the most part, are able to accommodate. Sometimes we go above the limit, if our instructors are okay with it. We have volunteer help, but some cool news you might like to hear. We're having the girls skate coming up this fall, and it was the first one to fill up. So
Oh,
it's
that's
completely
awesome.
maxed.
I love that. Yeah, that's great. So thank you all for everything you do.
Thank you, Director Bus. Is there any sport that you haven't participated in?
Not
I'm impressed. Director Nichols.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks for the update. Glad to hear how things are progressing. And I know you're even making strides to continue with the program while things are nothing but a dusty, messy bowl over there. And so being able to accommodate that, I know we have a few satellite operations that you can work with, but to keep that moving and keep that enthusiasm moving forward is great. Yeah, and to see the little kids out there is wonderful. I just was reflecting when I was trying that at my age, about that point, when I was that age, and no helmets, no pads, in fact, no skateboards, because we were making our own handmade equipment, and no ramps. We were just using the apron off the driveway into the street, much to our parents' chagrin. But you know what? We survived. Don't tell any of your students that though. But to see that and how they are just so inclined to participate. And what I like about it too is I know with much of what we offer as a park district is opportunities for kids and adults of all ages, to get them started. It may be just a year or two before they're off and going into their, preferred option, whatever that is, whether it be skateboarding or soccer or baseball, whatever it is, but just to get them introduced into it, like you say, some of those initial skills that they need to just to survive. But those that get that spark and stick with it, you know, pretty soon, you know, they're just going, and it's great to see that. I did have a question about the girls though, is that, you know, not that I see a lot of it, but when I do see the X Games or those things on sports news or what it happens to be, it seems like there's always a girls and guys division and all ages. And so I just thought that this was, you know, gosh, the girls had just invaded this long ago. Is it still heavily weighted towards the guys and the girls are still kind of catching up? How's that been working out?
The gap is definitely closing as the years go on, and programs like ours are encouraging more girls to participate, but the gap still does exist, but it's getting better and better. Skateboarding is really inclusive and inviting, so that's nice, but I think there's still some barriers that exist for women in skateboarding. Once we're getting to the professional level with pay and different things like that, I think that's kind of seen across the board with, women's sports in general right now. So,
Yeah. So it's not unique to skateboarding then. It's just the way things have kind of evolved. Okay. Well, thanks. I'm glad to hear that, and look forward to another successful year or two when you get over this hump, and then gosh, who knows where we're going to end up. You may have this room full of employees at that point. So thank you for the update.
thank you.
Thank you, Director Nichols. And hearing his comment about in his day, in my day, we took 2x4s, nailed old roller skates, took a wooden box, nailed it onto the 2x4, and then I forget what, probably a broom handle for the hold on to. And we just called them scooters in those days. But and I first got really knowledgeable about skateboards is when my son, I don't know if he got online. I don't think so. He's just booked in magazines in his day, and looking for the tracks or the different parts and assembling his own skateboard. And has this sport ever come a long ways? And thank you for what you're doing and what you're doing to help our upcoming young people in a sport that is very positive. And Taylor, what prompted you to move from Minnesota to California?
Just love and romance. Something like that, they always say something like that. So yeah, I just came out here, followed my boyfriend who's going to school out here, and I ended up here, and it was a happy accident. So everything worked out.
Well, great. I'm glad to hear that. And again, what you've contributed to CRPD, all of you, is really a special thing that not every park district or parks department has experienced. So thank you again. Keep up the great work, and the best of luck in this new skate park.
Thank you very much.
No more accidents. Just
And
just good ones.
At the ribbon cutting, when it's open, the board's all gonna drop in on one of the boards.
Yeah, right.
With a Michelin Man safety suit,
We
right?
do have an adult skate class that still has openings. I'm just
I
saying.
think we need that. It's been like 20 years.
Okay, again, thank you very much. We're now moving on to item 6, items from the public. Do we have anybody online?
That wants to talk to us?
Yep.
Hi, my name's Elizabeth Zernick. I'm in Thousand Oaks. And I just put in a question into the Q&A. We were just wondering if you could get more sand added to the Thousand Oaks Community Center volleyball courts. It's very thin right now, and there's some hard rocks in there, and we've had people coming out bloody from diving after them. So it's a little bit of a safety hazard. So similar to how you resurface the basketball courts, we were hoping that you could add sand periodically and rake the sand courts. Thank you, and let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I saw our staff taking notes and so forth, so I'm sure that that's gonna be addressed. But thank you again for providing that input. And it's people like you that are the extra eyes and ears in our community that we need. So we know what's going on in our many, many parks and venues. And so again, thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. Yeah, we really like the park and there's a lot of people here with their kids and enjoying it. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else online? That's it. Okay, and anybody from the public have no
Actually,
card?
I'm so sorry. I had one more.
I'm sorry.
Hi, sorry, it's Elizabeth Zernick again. I had one more request and I was wondering if we can put Francis Prince's birthday on the CRPD calendar. She was born on October 24th and she was instrumental in getting wildflower playfields made into a big park. And I know it's already got a sign there, but we've been in the past few years, Matt Kuba has been helping with a community event that we've been calling Wildwood Community Cares Day. And I just love it if CRPD could kind of, get the word out a little bit for that. It's coming up, like I said, October 24th. Or if we could include it somehow into some other community work day to help in the playfields area around like the tennis courts and things like that. I know there's a lot of things that have been maintained so far there. It's just a lot of work. So if many hands make light work, if you guys want to try and get some volunteers from the community to help in her honor, I think that would be really nice. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. And our general manager, I saw him taking notes and looking at staff. So I'm sure that's going to be a topic that's going to be discussed and so forth. It's not something that we normally do, but Francis Prince has contributed so much to our community and specifically, the recognition in the Wildwood Park area. So thank you again for that information.
Thank you.
Okay. And anybody else online? Nope. Okay. We're on items of item number 6, approval of the agenda. I'd like to entertain a motion at this time.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented. Any comments, questions? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, sharing none, that motion will pass. Item 7, consent calendar. Item 7A, approval of minutes, July 18th, 2024, special and regular board meetings. Item B, approval of warrants, accounts payable, check register, $2,729,719.47. Payroll, $1,898,335. And item C, proposed 2025 Board of Directors meeting schedule. Is there any item that board members would like to pull?
I'm not suggesting we pull, just a comment that having a month off makes for a very long list of items, so no more months off.
Okay, anybody want to pull any of those items off the consent calendar? If not, I'd entertain a motion for approval of the consent calendar as presented.
I'll make a motion for that,
Thank you. Is there a
for
second?
A, B, and C.
I'll second it.
We got a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar as presented. Any comments or questions come to mind? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, sharing none, that motion will pass. Item 8, deferred matters, we have none. Item 9, items for discussion, we have none. Item 10, new item, 10A, adopt resolution 090524-A, finding and determining that the Borchard Community Park skateboard replacement project is categorically exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA. Staff, please.
Thank you, Chair Lang, members of the board. As you're aware, staff has been working on redevelopment replacement of the existing skate park. Part of that process, we would typically take an item such as this with like a construction contract if we were doing like a replacement or a I would say repair, major repair, that type of thing. And so for this, due to like necessary planning approvals and everything, we're taking this item solely based on CEQA, and we would come back later for any construction contracts and such. But as CRPD is the lead agency, staff is recommending the adoption of the exemption based on class 1 categorical exemption, which is existing facilities. And so it would be the repair and maintenance of the skate park as well as the replacement. And we did confer with our consultant Viacom that this is indeed accurate and proper to make that finding. As part of your board packet on page 87, we do have an exhibit that shows the existing footprints. If you look at it in portrait, in landscape, it would be on the left side of the page of the existing skate park footprint, which is approximately about 10,000 square feet. The additional skate park footprint would be in green, which is about 10,000 square feet. So that's an existing developed park site, Orchard Community Park, which is about 29 acres. The overall expansion of that and replacement of the skate park with the new amenities would be about 1% or under 1% of the overall area of the entire currently developed park site. And as Kurt mentioned in his presentation, good successful programming. We've been using the parking lot for overflow use, whether it's public skate or for programming in classes and such. So again, pointing back to the class 1 exemption, staff believes that is correct and proper. And with that, I can answer any questions.
Thank you, Andrew. Director Huffer.
Two questions, Andrew. First, it seems to me for most projects that have come before us in the past that the request for a CEQA exemption is just one of several items dealing with a project. I'm curious as to why you're asking us to handle this separately on this item.
Yeah, so as part of our planning approvals, we have to actually go through planning commission, and staff thought it was best to take this to the board since we are the lead agency and handle the determination of the exemption with our board prior to proceeding with any land use authority processing. So, and like I said, typically like for playgrounds or shade structures, we don't need, it's more of a 1-for-1. We are not changing the use of a skate park, but however, we are adding shade, we are adding lighting to that specific area of the park. And so that's why staff thought it was best to come to the board prior to going through the planning approval process as well as prior to construction.
Okay.
And I might even, say it wasn't just us. We are the lead agency, so we're the, more appropriate. But we could allow for a different agency to do this job. We could just delegate that to the planning department. But the city staff actually asked us to go ahead and do the environmental so that when it gets to the planning commission, that part of it's already done. So we're kind of also doing it the way we've been asked to do it by the city.
Okay, and then my second question, Andrew, and I know you've mentioned or talked about this in other meetings when we've talked about this project, but what's the approximate time frame to when the entire project will be done?
Yeah, so we tentatively have an October 7th planning commission date. Obviously, depending on what happens tonight with this board item, but we have a tentative planning commission date early October. Then we would be working through building permits. And so the goal would be, it's always yesterday, right? But the goal would be through the fall, early winter, we would get those approvals. And then hopefully after the holidays, we'd be able to break ground shortly after the new year. So.
Thank you.
Director Kitzworth?
Well, to add on to Director Huffer's question, after you break ground, how long do you think it will take to finish the project?
So our design build is California Skate Parks. They said best case 2 to 3 months. With it being in January, like we've gotten some heavier rains through the winter months, probably 3 to 4 months to possibly 5 months, depending on if we had dry weather or not. But if everything went perfect, it would be about 2 to 3 months is what the contractor said.
Any further questions, Director Cusworth?
No.
Any question, Director Nichols?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Regarding this CEQA process, was there any notification given to the neighbors within a certain range or any sign posted that this was taking place?
So part of the city planning process, we posted signage. I believe it was last week or last week was posted on site for the city's planning process. And they did send out their notice that mentions the CEQA process that we're handling in this meeting. This is just a regularly scheduled board meeting. However, I did send this email out to anyone who we have an ongoing group email list for the Borchard Skate Park. And I did send that email out to those that have been interested in the past when we held our community meetings on site. So other than original posting, and that's typical proper process through CEQA, that we don't necessarily need to do a broader mailing list if it was like an M&D or an environmental impact report.
I guess my concern was, since, as was pointed out earlier, this is a standalone and it's not associated with a project, and the city will be taking their project, I mean, their role to approve the project as they should. But if we are approving the CEQA in advance, how then would the public be able to participate with their concerns over this through the city process if it's already been approved by the park district?
So city has their own requirements just because we approved it through the CEQA exemption. You know, one of the reasons we do have to get permits for shade structures as well as the lights and planning approvals for those. And so that was one of the requirements that is making us go to planning commission, or without the lights and without the shade structures, it would just be kind of just over the counter, any building permit processing. So again, the city has their own regulations, like I believe it's anything over 35 feet at this park is that we would have to get approvals for. One thing to note though, is we've had modifications throughout the years, just as the resolution stated in the summary of development of lighting, specifically lights. We do have 14 lights on site currently. They range from 40 feet to 65 feet. And there's actually 6 that are 65 feet tall. So again, this is an existing developed skate park. And it's an existing developed community park that has certain impacts, whether someone thinks they're significant or insignificant. But as far as staff's review and our environmental consultant, we're doing everything with the proper steps of this. So.
Okay. Yeah, my concern is just, since I know we're going to have neighbors right across Borchard, and they're going to have lights across the street from them, I just want to make sure that they're fully informed in all steps of the process. And if they have any concerns, to be able to voice those, whether it's here tonight or through the city planning process, that, whatever is brought up, that we make sure we hear about that and can address that as best possible.
Sure. And to add to that, when we did our outreach, I believe it was 500 plus mailers is what was sent out. We did about 1,000-foot radius for those concerns, right? The folks that are directly across. Technology is better with the lights, as we've discussed in past board meetings with other projects. But we've been keeping all those that are interested informed through the process, but as well as the city does their own mailer, like I mentioned. So the signs were up, and then the city does their initial tentative TBD planning commission mailer saying district is looking to do this. So
okay. And as far as the city process, would this be considered like a minor modification to the
correct.
park then?
That is my understanding. It would be a minor modification.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. Andrew, is there any quote unquote history of major disturbances and complaints from the neighbors on these skate park competition, what the events, the bigger events they were mentioning, when there's people coming from other areas for competition?
Not any like direct like event like correlation, right? It's like we try to be good neighbors. Rochelle's folks do a lot of fun stuff at the parks. Our sports groups are doing a lot of fun stuff. So I'm not gonna say there hasn't been complaints over the years in my time with the district and when we've developed park over the years from the seventies through to current day. But nothing specifically about, hey, we have this issue. You know, sometimes it's tricky with the high school as well with parking. That's a daily challenge that staff deals with. And I know Kurt does a great job coordinating with the city or the school staff, as well as if any of the city police need to get involved on issues that arise. So.
Very good. I'm glad to hear that. Okay, any additional comments or questions from the board? Okay, this is a resolution. I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 090524-A, finding and determining that the Borchard Community Park Skate Park replacement project is categorically exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act.
Thank you, Director Buss. Do we have a second?
This is the resolution, so we need to.
Oh, for her to read it.
Oh, but we need a second. I'm looking for a second.
She needs.
Needs to say that it be read in.
resolution.
To be-
needs to complete-
to have Eileen read it.
I'm sorry. You're right.
So can we have it read in name and title only? Is that right? Okay. Thanks.
And all further readings be waived.
And all further readings be waived?
All right, thank you.
I'll be happy to second that very well done motion.
Thank you, Director Huffer, and thank you for catching that. Okay, if you'd read that in title only.
Resolution 090524-A, a resolution of the Board of Directors of the Conejo Recreation and Park District finding and determining that the Borchard Community Park Skate Park Replacement Project is categorically exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act.
Thank you, Mr. Okay, we have a motion and a second. It's been read in title only. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, abstentions, hearing none, that motion will pass. Item B, budget adjustments for fiscal year 2023-24 and 2024-25. Staff, please, Melissa.
Thank you, Chair. And I'm going to ask Katie, allow me to share my screen. And while she's getting me set up there, I do want to call your attention to page 98. I have a typo. So at the very bottom of page 98, the very last line is district tennis court resurfaces by 27,440 from 120,000. That should be 20,000. So take out that one there. The attachments have the correct number, but that was wrong. So now I'm going to take you into the wonderful world of budget adjustments. So hopefully you can see it. I'll try to make it bigger. It's a little bit bigger. So this is Exhibit A in your packet. And we broke up the budget adjustments into three basic categories. So the first is the year-end budget adjustments for fiscal year 23-24. So first, I want to tell you, you can look at page 237 of your packet to see the year-end full-on budget report, but it will tell you that we had $2.5 million more in revenue than we budgeted for, and we had $1.8 million less in expenses than we budgeted for. So very good year for us. We did a great
Combination.
job. So these year-end budget adjustments are not something that we're required to do, but it's more for us to look at the different work centers to see which ones went over budget and understand why, and to make sure that we had excess revenue to address those overages. So that's what this document does. It's a little bit different than I presented it in prior years, and that's mostly because I want to give this rec team some credit for making sure that the revenues they generate in excess always cover the increase in their expenses. So I'll walk you through this document because it is a new format. So the first portion, the expenses on the right are those expenses that went over budget, and on the left are the excess revenues that we were able to use to fund those activities. So the first portion that we were using, the excess property tax that we received, covered some registration system improvements, a worker comp claim that you all are familiar with, increased costs in fuel, and the impacts of the classification and compensation study on our MRCA work center. So all of those were covered by the excess property tax that we had. All of the other lines on there are for construction or not construction, contract or instruction contracts for different rec centers. And on the left side, you'll see that each of those centers also had excess revenue to cover those increased expenses. So that's just me tipping the hat to, to rec for making sure that when they increase programs, they're making sure they're making the revenue to offset that. So I'll stop really quick on the year-end budget adjustments to answer any questions you have before I move on.
Yes, Director Nichols.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just want to know how you, I don't want to use any coercing terms, but how you align these, because how is it that the revenue just happened to be the exact dollar amount as the expense? So I just want to know
Oh.
how those are.
So
what are
it
the
is not.
actuals?
The actuals are substantially more than this. This is just the amount that we needed to meet the expenditure.
Okay, as far as, so the revenue sources are significant, well, I'm saying, they are just more.
They are
And
more,
you're just taking the part that you need to cover the expenses.
correct.
Okay, that's, I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't just a,
No, I'm glad. It's a new format. Ask away.
okay, all right, thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Director Nichols. Any other? I have a quick one on the elementary school music program. Is that normal to have that much additional revenue?
So you'll have to remember about a year to 2 years ago, the elementary school music program moved from ACCB into our program. So it is a budget. This was the first 2-year budget that we actually had that music money in there. So we budgeted a certain amount, but we made quite a bit more. So
We're
now-
learning.
Yeah. And now moving forward, we're going to learn again because there's been some changes in the music world. So
Very good.
yeah, it's kind of just moves around.
And I know it's a great relationship that we have and you're doing a good job. Thank you, Rochelle. Any other comments or questions? Okay, go ahead.
All right, so next we're gonna go to the new category. It's your Exhibit B. So these are things that have come up since we passed the budget in June, but were not capital projects that we were carrying over, which is the last section. So the first are 3 district-wide expenses. These are annual expenses that we have out of our general fund, but for most of them, because of the rains, we did not spend that money last year. So we wanted to kind of catch up on those projects and use that savings from last year so that we can complete those projects this year. So that's field refurbishment, lighting upgrades, and tennis court resurfacing. So it's a little less than $60,000 in those savings that we had from last year that we want to use this year for those purposes. On the district-wide assessment fund, so we have the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy grant for wildfire vegetation reduction. This was $1 million grant that was awarded last year. We didn't include it in the June budget specifically because it was in the pots of money that were at risk of being cut as part of the state budget process. Now we know it was not cut. This grant is safe, so we're including it in the budget now. And last but not least, we have the completion of the master plan. So that is all the new stuff, and I'm happy to answer questions before we go to carryovers.
Thank you. Any questions on that? Yes, Director Huffer.
Would it be similar to the question that Director Nichols asked on Exhibit A, that the prior year savings is actually more than the 59,440 and 60,000? You're just balancing so that the dollars match on either side of the equation.
Correct. We had a lot more than that. This is what we need to get the project going.
Thank you.
Okay, no further comments or questions? Go ahead and continue.
All right. Last but not least, we have the capital carryovers. So with the approval of the budget in 2020, in approval of the budget in June, we asked for authorization to continue working on capital projects. I got to move forward. So long as we didn't go over the total budgeted amount, and that we would report back to you on what those amounts were that we were carrying over into this budget year. So that this is that report. So what you're seeing is the balance of each of these projects as of June 30 that we want to carry over into this current fiscal year. And then each fund source, the capital projects fund, the equipment fund, and the district-wide assessment. And so, yeah, available for any questions.
Okay, board members, any questions on? Guess not. Good job. All right. I'd entertain a motion. No further comments or questions? Director Huffer.
Yes, I'd like to move that we approve staff recommendation 1 to approve the budget adjustments for 23-24 and recommendation 2 adjustments for 24-25.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Director Nichols. Any other thoughts, comments, questions come to mind? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, hearing none, that motion will pass. Moving on to item 10C, amendment of existing options of site lease agreements, new singular wireless AT&T for upgrades and to existing wireless communication facilities at Dos Vientos Community Park. Staff, please.
Thank you, Chair Lang, members of the board. The board of directors approved an original lease back in February of 2005 for this cell site. We've been working with SmartLink Group on behalf of New Singular Wireless to be able to expand their services at that cell site. If you look on page 107 of the board packet, it kind of gives you a layout of where this site is. Dos Vientos actually has 4 different cell sites there. And so this is the one that backs up to the trash enclosure off of Orchard Road. And then its adjacent pole is the antenna pole just to the south of the trash enclosure on, it would be left field of that first ball field. Basically what they're looking to do is add another antenna array. They already have 2. They want to add a 3rd to increase their services. That there's visual impact on the pole. And so staff negotiated a $500 increase for that work. And so once construction begins on that, the monthly rent there lease will be $4,300 and change on that site. If you look on page 116 and 117 of your report, it gives you an elevation view so you can kind of see the difference. The left side of both sheets shows the existing look. On the right side is the proposed look of it. So same pole, the existing equipment's not changing. They're just adding additional equipment below the existing antenna arrays. So with that, I am available for questions.
Thank you, Andrew. Yes, Director Buss.
So on the increases, is there a general amount that, why $500? I'm just curious if there's like a range that you go for.
Yes, so typically we take a look at what other folks are doing. We do have, that is our base rate. So since I've been working on these for a few years now, typically it takes a bit of staff time just to get to here because there's a lot of back and forth and working with them. And so we used to do a couple $100s here and there, but with the cost of real estate and the cost of time. So that's kind of our base. Typically when there's a minimal upgrade like being shown here, you'll see on the next item, it's a bit more because it's a larger impact on the park site. So there's more visual disturbance and possibly depending on the cell site, there might be more ground space lease for these 2 that's strictly just on the pole. It's not any expansion of ground space, but we try to keep up with what others are doing and it's a negotiation, right? It's staff, myself and the general manager working with these cell site folks to figure out what we can be able to accommodate, be within market, but then also be able to get some extra money. And I think I shared with you guys a couple, I think it was early June, we brought one in front of the board last year out of our 17 cell sites, $550,000. So annually, and that's a 3% increase every year. A typical agreement is a 5-year with 20-year extension on it. And so it's a pretty sizable contract, a good benefit for the public and to help be able to put some dollars in the budget and be able to balance what we're trying to accomplish for the community. So
Yeah, it's great. I was just curious if we could charge more.
I try. So
I like to hear
there's definitely a threshold there. So
Yeah, thank you for keeping all of that going and still having opportunity to increase the revenue. Yes, Director Nichols.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. From past experience, my observation was that cell sites can generally cause neighbors concerns. And though we don't hear it here, it's usually at the planning commission. when those are there. But that's between the applicant and the city at that point, and the park district doesn't get involved. Basically, they just are told that the park district has reached an agreement. I guess one thing that just caught my attention, this was pointed out by Director Buss, the visual impact. If there's a perceived visual impact, or at least on behalf of staff at this point, planning commission can make up their own determination as well as city staff and through the environmental review process. Is this typically the justification for the fee is visual impact, or is it just the fact that, hey, you want more, so do we. You want more, service, you want more opportunity, you want to expand, then it just costs you more just for that reason only? Or is it, do you come up with some justification for visual impact or whatever those criteria happen to be?
So yeah, typically we take a look at, there is a baseline with if it's a new site coming on to a property in 2024, very different than things that have been negotiated before my time with the district, just like this one was back in 2005, right? So there is a balance there. And I think it is, yes, it is an impact on the park site. We, as the landowner, take it very seriously where we put these things, so it doesn't affect what programming we can offer the community, but there's that balance with it. So it is visual impact, but as far as from how I've been trained and how I've been executing this for a number of years, we are a lot more scrutiny on CRPD's end than possibly what planning commission or any other agency, if it was a county review process or anything like that. So it's definitely a balance between the two, but for the terminology of the lease, we get something approved. It's a footprint of a vault, whether it's subterranean or above grade, and then what's going on the pole. Sometimes they swap the poles out because of their equipment needs it. I'm working on a couple of those right now. And so it's the factor of like how much work needs to be done on the site, and it's disturbing the site. My staff has to coordinate when the contractor comes out with equipment, lift and all that, which is no charge. So we try to get it as market rate, but we try to be as aggressive but reasonable as possible to get these fees for the benefit. So.
Very good. All right. Thanks for the explanation. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Director Helfer.
Just a couple of questions, comments. First of all, a comment. I'm guessing that as a former planning person, that Doug probably went through every page 111 through 122 in great detail, which the rest of us might not have understood at all. So thank you for doing that. It looks from the satellite view on page 107 that the equipment that's being worked on is pretty well removed from any of the active sites at the park, so that whatever time frame is involved in completing this won't affect any of our programming or any of the activities going on at Dos Vientos.
Yep, that's correct. And we coordinate depending on sports leagues and activities that the center's doing. So. Okay.
And then not related to the specific project, but you said there are a lot of cell sites throughout the district. And seems to me it was a year or two ago that we approved a expansion of the site at Conejo Creek South. And I just wondering where that project is, because I haven't seen anything happening over there.
Yeah, so we excuse me, we've met a couple times on site with their contractor and their staff. They're still working through the approvals, right? So the land use authority
takes a while, huh?
Building permits and all that fun stuff. Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it's in process, but yeah, sometimes these go away for a bit and then they come back.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, any further comments or questions by board? If not, I'd entertain a motion for approval.
I'll make a motion that we authorize the general manager to approve the second amendment of the existing option and site lease agreements with the new Singular Wireless AT&T for equipment upgrades at the Dos Vientos Community Park.
Thank you, Director Kessler.
I'll make it second.
Thank you, Director Buss. We have a motion and a second. Any other comments, questions come to mind? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, hearing none, that motion will pass. Item 10D, Amendment of second option and site lease agreement with Verizon Wireless and upgrade of existing wireless communication facilities at Wildflower Playfield. Staff, please.
Thank you, Chair Lang, members of the board. We've been working with BlackRock Telecommunications on behalf of Verizon at the property. If you look on page 127 of your report, it kind of gives you a good location map on exactly what we're talking about. This was a site. They're still working on emergency generator permits and approvals. So I wanted to note that the third amendment was an actual generator on the site. So if you look at that site map, it was just off the parking lot that the board approved. I believe that was in 22, but it might have been early 23. But this one, same thing. They're not looking to expand their footprint, but they are making a visual impact on the pole. Because of the current size of they actually have a can, so they have a covering, a shroud around their equipment on the antenna pole adjacent to the court. And that's a 5 foot tall by approximately 18-inch diameter. They're increasing that size to about 8.5 feet, all the way up to a 2'10" diameter. And so significant more than what the prior one was, with what they were proposing at the Dos Vientos site. And so staff negotiated an additional $750 a month for this one because of the amount of visual space they would be taking up. And so once construction begins, and this also includes the amendment for the backup generator, it would be nearly $5,000 a month. And that would run concurrently with the existing leases amendment, and we'll be able to have that 3% increase over the life of the agreement. And in a little bit more detailed on page 138 and 139, kind of shows you that visual difference. They're not changing the pole, but they're basically just putting a larger antenna and can, if you will, shroud on top of that existing pole. So with that, I'm available for questions.
Thank you, Andrew. Any questions? Director Alver?
Similar to my question on the Dos Vientos, this is a much more compact site than Dos Vientos and a lot more difficult to access. And a little hard to tell from the satellite view, but it looks like some of the equipment is very close to the tennis court there. When they do eventually start construction on this, will it have any impact on either the programming that sports is doing or on users who want to use the tennis courts?
There will be temporary inconvenience, just like when our guys are doing maintenance and work on the field. But again, they run that through Parks and Planning, get approvals, encroachment permit. And so we're aware of it. And then also this one, and I wasn't a part of it when it was put in on the property, but this one was put in this location. So it was further away from, residential, but also it's next to one court versus being more internal to the park site. Like Dos Vientos is more on the perimeter. This one has direct access from that kind of satellite parking lot off of Arbalest right there. And so typically it's more passive use at that park and that court. So it just like when we're mowing and maintaining, there will be some temporary inconvenience, but be pretty minimal once everything's up and running.
Okay, thank you.
Any other board? Yes, Director Nicholson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a follow-up to your comment about the size of the shroud being increased. I know these typically are not that heavy. They're just bigger because they're fairly, well, I would say fairly lightweight, but it's not very, very heavy metal. And so you indicated that there's no plans to change the pole. So the assumption is that it's structurally sound, but do they provide that type of technical support to the planning staff to support that so that they can verify it as opposed to you verifying something?
Correct.
Like that?
Yeah. So my understanding, typically they'll give us calculations and stuff if they're proposing a new pole, but it would be going through building and safety and permits and their approval process. So
Okay.
that would be triggered through the land use authority.
Okay.
So.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yep. Andrew, the emergency generator, is that larger than other sites that we have emergency generators on?
This one, they're all pretty similar. Companies kind of do it differently depending on the site and how much equipment they're running. but they're all pretty similar, and they try to keep as tight of a footprint as possible. One, to meet safety requirements, you know, offset from the generator and stuff that's heating up and exhaust and stuff like that. But then also they try to be as tight as possible, because then they would have to pay more for more square footage. So.
Very good, thank you. Any other comments, questions come to mind? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
Sure, I'll make a motion for that to authorize the general manager to approve the Fourth Amendment of existing option and site lease agreements with Verizon Wireless for equipment upgrades at Wildflower Playfield.
Second, please.
I'll
Thank you.
second.
Thank you, Director Huffer. Any other thoughts, questions come to mind? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, hearing none, that motion will pass. 10E, second reading and adoption of our CRPD ordinance number 2024-1, and ordinance establishing rules and regulations for CRPD parks. Staff, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair Lang and members of the board. This report starts on page 151 of your packet, and it's a very short cover memo to information that you guys have seen now. I think this might be the fourth time. So I think we've got it totally dialed in. During the last time you looked at it in the first reading and introduction, I think we made 3 minor tweaks that are reflected in this second and hopefully final reading and adoption. With that, I'm available for questions.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager. Any comments, questions? This has been thoroughly vetted, I think, so we're probably in good shape. Yes, Director Kessworth.
I don't have any questions about the ordinance manual itself. I'm just wondering what it's going to look like. Does it just stay online? Do you make a nice little, you know?
That's actually a great question,
like
because
what
no, that's a great question. So the document in your hand here is kind of what we have currently. So if you look at our current ordinance, and if somebody asks for it, it'll be this fairly uninteresting, you know, document stapled together.
Okay.
But I have been thinking that it might actually be nice to upgrade the look of it a little bit, just so it kind of looks a little, you know, I don't know, more
Official.
official, user-friendly sort of thing. So we might look into, when we actually publish it, making it look a little better, but yeah, we can do that on our own. But yeah, otherwise it would go online just like this, so people would be able to quickly access it. And then, you know, when we create a bunch of printed copies, we'll look at maybe aesthetically upgrading it just a bit.
Like having a cover on it or
Yeah,
something of that.
yeah.
sort. Yeah.
I agree. Our logo.
Yes, Director
Thank
Nichols.
you, Mr. Chair. That actually prompted a question.
Good.
I've seen, well, actually, most municipalities have their municipal code online, you know, and it's usually at the, you know, some company posts that. Would that be something that would be appropriate to find that? Or I don't know what.
I don't know that we need to go to the expense, because they're paying a third-party vendor to host their, you know, code off, you know, online, like American Publishing Company or something, or whatever it is.
You know,
Yeah.
how many requests you get either from the public or other agencies that would, you know, warrant something like that?
No, I don't believe so. No one's ever asked for it in a different way or format. It's also it's much shorter than most agencies' set of rules and laws. So it's, you know, at 35 pages, it's a lot shorter than, you know, a lot of other people's codes. So it's not that big a document that people can't kind of find what they're looking for.
Thank you.
Okay. I think we're ready for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we adopt ordinance 2024-1, establishing rules and regulations for CRPD parks.
Thank you, Director Kessworth, and Director Buss as a second. We have a motion and a second. Any additional comments, questions come to mind? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, hearing none, that motion will pass. Item F, 2024 Biennial Review and Conflict of Interest Code. Staff, please.
Oh, wait, this is me again. Right, I was starting to sign the document. Yes, thank you, Chair Lang, members of the board. Actually, Aline could do this report, because I will say and I can say it now, she might be actually working out of class a little bit, but she actually did this whole entire, report. So, yes. So thank you, Aline. But this is something we do every 2 years, and it's something that the county sends us a reminder of, and they ask us to send our information back into them. It's the conflict of interest code. And really it's pretty easy to read. What we do is this is who has to file the Form 700s, so what you'll see is all the changes really just center around the title changes that were associated with the class comp study. That's really all that it is. So there aren't any disclosure categories that are changing. Everybody's kind of still reporting under their same disclosure categories in the Form 700. It's just to better reflect or more accurately reflect the new title changes from the class comp. With that, I'm available for questions.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager. Any questions? Yes, Director Hopper.
I'm pretty sure we've had this discussion in the past, but you said for consistency, you're changing Global Senior Commission to Global Senior Center Commission. My recollection is the commission, and I don't know what their organizing document was, but they've been called the Global Senior Commission forever, and just leave it like that. But why are you changing it to Global Senior Center Commission since it's the Global Adult Center?
Well, so this is an interesting thing. So the Global Adult Community Center is a name change to the building that was requested by the population there, and the city and CRPD agreed, let's do that. So we changed it from the Global Senior Center to the Global Adult Community Center. The commission is actually members of they're technically board members of a separate 501c3. And
Right.
in their documents, they're still under their 501c3, they're the Global Senior Center Commission.
It does have the word center in their organizing documents.
Well, whether it's center or not, I'm guessing if Aline threw center in there, it might be because that's what it is, but do we
looked it
double
up.
check? Yeah, so we looked it up.
Documents searched all over the web. It's called the Senior Center Commission. So it's
Yeah.
I will double check it though to make sure.
Yeah, if you would, because I mean, I know we've always referred to it as the Global Senior Commission, and that's the way they're organized, and that's fine. But when you have senior center and it's actually the adult center, it gets a little more confusing. So if you
Yeah.
would check, thank you.
Sure.
We'll make any changes to mirror their actual legal nonprofit name. We'll make sure we get that right.
Good. We got that straight now. Okay, any other comments, questions on item F?
No.
If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve and adopt the conflict of interest code for Conejo Recreation Park District.
Thank you. Second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Director Hopper. We have a motion and a second. Any other thoughts, or questions come to mind? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention, sharing none. That motion will pass. NG, the last item in discussion, transfer of salaries and benefits to the pension stabilization reserve. Staff. Melissa.
Thank you, Chair and Directors, and thank you, Katie, for letting me share documents again. So again, first, Director Huffer found a typo. It's on page 208 under the 10-year amortization schedule. It refers to the 15-year amortization plan. It should be 10-year. But with that, I will dive into this. So I mostly wanted to show the history of the pension stabilization reserve to give credit to the board for setting aside these funds to address our retiree liabilities. I can try to make it bigger. I can see it's kind of funky. Maybe that'll work. So a little bit bigger. It is in your packet. So in 2018, we created the pension stabilization reserve with $4.39 million. The next year we added $5.36 million, and this reflects, I think, years and years of savings of and a lot of work. It was before my time, so kudos to everyone who was there. And I don't know if Jim wants to fill in any of that stuff. But by 2021, we started getting to the point where we were pretty close to 100% funded. So I wanted to show you how we calculate the percent funded that we were. So I'm going to go to this, and now I have to make it smaller so you can see it all. This is also in your packet, but when we're talking about how funded our retiree liabilities are, sorry, I'm really trying to make it so you can see on there. This is how we calculate it. So the columns here are the three different pots that have our retiree liabilities. So the first column is our pension liability with CalPERS. The second is our retirement enhancement. It's also been called the defined benefit plan, the retiree medical stipend. It has a bunch of different names, but that's that category. And the last is the OPEB. The first total liability line is the reports that we get, and they're on different schedules. So the amount of the CalPERS liability is always a year old. So that's the most recent report we have, but it's a year old. The other two columns for liability for the retirement enhancement and OPEB, those are based on biannual calculations. So sometimes they're very new and sometimes so anyway, we have mixed reports on what the total liability is, but this does reflect the most recent reports that are available to us. The assets at CalPERS, again, those are reported a year behind. The assets at Schwab, that is our 115 trust that we set up specifically to address our retiree liabilities. And then assets in the pension reserve, that's the reserve that we have. We're holding it in our in CRPD accounts, and that's the reserves that we address every year when we do the financials. So you put all that together, it's all the most recent information we have, and we're at 103%, which is fantastic. I think there's a lot of places that would be delighted to have that. So as we started getting nearer and nearer to being 100% funded, we started talking about when would we start using these funds to address that liability. And in the reserve policy, we adopted some general guidelines that basically said we automatically transfer the salaries and benefit savings every year to the pension stabilization reserve if we are less than 100% funded. So we automatically do it. It's a no-brainer. When we hit 100% funded or more, that's when we come to the board and to the Finance and Audit Committee to discuss if that's still something that we want to do, if that's still an appropriate savings for this process. So that's what we did. We went and met with the Finance and Audit Committee and discussed whether or not we still wanted to do this salaries and benefit savings transfer to the pension stabilization reserve. Going back to this page, the second part shows the same calculations, but what the percentage funded would be after that. So it boosts it from 103% funded to 105% funded after this. So it's a 2% increase. It doesn't trigger the guidance from a reserve policy that would say we start using it every year to cover our normal costs to CalPERS. But it is a good practice, especially with the volatility that we've had with CalPERS, to continue doing that. In addition to discussing the salaries and benefits savings, we wanted to talk about the impacts of the payments to CalPERS in our general budget. So this is the amortization schedule of our payments to CalPERS. So every year, our general fund has two different kinds of payments to CalPERS. There is the normal cost payment, which is about 7 to 8% of our salaries we pay to CalPERS to address the retiree benefits that are being accrued in that year. Then there is the unfunded accrued liability payment. And that's basically the payment that is due to CalPERS to address prior years' accrued liabilities. What's been happening because of the volatility of CalPERS and the market performance, the UAL payment is escalating quickly. So when I started here 4 years ago, it was a little over $1 million a year. This year it was 1.4. And if you look at the schedule, the current amortization schedule in your packet, you'll see it's going to jump up to 2.3 by 2030. And so that volatility really impacts the cash flow of our general fund every year. And so I came to the Finance and Audit Committee to discuss if we had other options, now that we were so well funded, to try to make that a more stabilized cash flow impact on the general fund, but also see if we had some savings opportunities when we have these funds available. And so that's when we discussed going to the 10-year amortization schedule, which is all the far right over on this sheet. And so if we were to transfer to that 10-year amortization schedule, that would, one, end our UAL payments sooner, but it would also result in $4.7 million in savings for the district. So the thought would be that for the increased payment from our current schedule to the 10-year payment plan, we would be using those funds in that 115 trust that was set aside specifically for this. So that burden of that increased payment and that increased schedule would not affect our general fund cash flow. All of this would be included in next year's budget. It was not going to happen until 2025, 2026, but I wanted to make you aware of that and the discussion. And again, like, huge props for setting aside these funds to address this liability. It's a big, big deal, and it'll make it a lot easier for us to address the cash flow impacts on the general fund. But today, I'm just asking for the salaries and benefits transfer so we can keep going with this plan. But I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Melissa. Yes, Director Nichols.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, just if you could restate, because I didn't quite catch what you were saying, but where the going to the 10-year amortization, did I hear right that you said that the difference in going to that amortization would be coming out of the trust?
Yes,
How
so
would that work?
so if you look at the difference between the scheduled payments, so I'll try to zoom in on this.
Between the 15 and 10-year? Is that what you're saying?
No, between the current amortization. So
Oh,
for example, the
correct.
very first line, starting June 30, 2025,
Okay,
the current payment is 1.65.
yes,
If we go to the 10-year amortization, that's 2.63.
yes,
So about $1 million difference, and we
Yes.
would use the trust, which has $15 million in it, to fund that difference.
yes. The trust.
The 15 million in the Schwab account is what we would use.
Okay, and so is that completely separate from the salaries that you're referring to before us today?
Yes, this is a FYI for the future. This is
Okay,
what we're
that's-
going to be doing. The
Okay.
salaries and benefit savings we're setting aside so that we make sure we have the funds to do this transition.
Okay, that's what I was trying to clarify. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Director Nichols, for the question. Any other comments or questions? And our members of the Audit and Finance Committee, do you have any comments, concerns, or anything like that?
Good job, Melissa.
Thank you.
That takes care of that. Okay, very good. Okay, with that information and no further comments or questions, I'd entertain a motion. Yes, Director. Polk.
check out.
Oh.
Yeah, I'd like to move that we approve staff recommendation to authorize the transfer salary and benefit savings to the pension stabilization reserve.
Thank you. And a second,
I'll second it.
Director Bus,
Sure.
seconds. Any other comments, questions come to mind? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Hi,
Opposed, abstentions, hearing none, that motion will pass. Move, yes, you please.
As we concluded that item, I actually told Melissa and staff I wanted to do this. That is a really significant, like, culmination to a very significant long-term process that this board and, you know, the prior management services administrator, Cheryl, you know, finance and audit folks. So the pain of saving that money into that trust over the years was not easy. And it was something that was like eating the elephant one bite at a time. But even though, if you guys can remember back to the Great Recession and all that stuff, CRPD had changed our pension formula before the state did. So we were, you know, we're 2 at 55, we went 2 at 60 in terms of, you know, addressing that huge pension shortfall that occurred when the market dropped so precipitously in the Great Recession. You know, we got rid of retiree healthcare. We did a lot of pretty dramatic things that were painful at the time, but I think have allowed us to reap really significant benefits over the years. And thanks to this board, we're now able to kind of see the end of that giant hole that occurred for all government that had the public sector pension. So we can kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel, and we're using that trust for exactly the reason it was set up, was to kind of bleed it back in to the system to allow us to kind of smooth out our liability and get to the end of this thing and be back to what it used to be. And maybe someday, remember in the 90s, you didn't even pay anything.
Yeah.
Remember those days? So it's been a road.
I don't.
Oh, thank you,
Sorry, I had to. Come
So
on.
anyway, I just want to compliment the CRPD board and you know, the prior board members, the board members today to kind of, you know, but really address it and not run from it. And there are some agencies that still haven't quite faced reality, but you guys have, so congratulations.
Well, thank you, Jim.
Mr.
Appreciate
Chair?
the
Mr. Chair?
comments and those board members who, yes, Director Nichols.
I was gonna say, if I could follow up with that, because I do remember what our general manager was talking about, and even before that, having a career in the municipal government. And I can remember going through the Great Recession, and that was a very painful process and a lot of dissension with our agency. And I know for many, many agencies up and down the state, and I can remember reading locally in the newspaper what the city and the park district were doing, because I was in the thick of things in my agency. And to see the difference of how things were resolved. I mean, there's a lot of agencies that would just love to be in this position that we're in. So kudos to those. And I know it was a lot of discussion between the board and staff to make this work. And I know the staff at the time had to, work through that. But yeah, we're in a very enviable position, and I'm much appreciated to the predecessors who made that work.
Very good. Appreciate both of your comments and expanding on that particular thing. Okay, I think we're moving on to reports and announcements. 11A, recreation highlights. B, investment report of May 2024. C, park dedication fees. D, budget performance reports, June and July of 2024. And E, Conejo Senior Volunteer Program activity report, April and June of 2024. Anybody like to comment on any of those items? Yes,
Yeah.
Director Butts.
I have to say that for the recreation highlights, that I think that the Taylor Swift concert in the park went over really well. I was really impressed with it. And I think, yeah, that was a highlight for a lot of little girls this summer, I have to say. And then I do have just one comment that doesn't have quite to do with this, but I did receive multiple texts from Sequoia Middle School stating that they needed 3 girls volleyball coaches for their league. And I was thinking, do we have volleyball coaches maybe for that? Yeah, that's what I figured. It's kind of their. Are those volunteers or are they paid? Do you
Most
know?
of our sports programs are independent contractors.
Right. So but the coaches that participate in the teen center one, do you know if those are?
So if it's the middle school
Yes.
programs, usually it's schools, coaches and or teachers from the school that is doing the middle school, like not school program, but
Right.
our program. Yeah. So that's usually school personnel that's volunteering for those.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was just interesting that they were texting the parents looking for coaches. And I was like, oh, is that? Okay, that's it.
Because I think it's all volunteer on the coaches. They don't get paid for that. It's not like part of the school stuff.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. That's
Yeah.
what I was wondering.
Any other? Yes, Director Huffer.
Just a request, Melissa. I don't know how difficult it would be, but on the, and I seem to get confused by this every month, but on the budget performance reports, would it be possible to break out on the revenue side, break out property taxes as one line and other revenues as a second line? Because every time I listen, it's like, why are we so far behind on property taxes? Oh, wait a minute, that's different revenues.
So Loretta and I are working on something special for you. So we will get you some options.
Thank you.
A quick comment, Rochelle, on the boys middle school summer basketball league, and this was it says it's an inaugural program. I'm glad to see a new program come online and so forth. And what prompted the creation of this particular middle school league?
I think this was part work with our outreach program. So they specifically worked with kids that they had worked with in the high schools and middle schools through outreach to get them involved and to do something different.
Great. Oh,
Mhm.
good, and good luck with the program. Hope it continues and gets the same number of or more participants. It's a important age group to service. Okay, no other comments on, yes, Director Cussworth.
Yes, I was wondering about your expanded learning opportunities program. How do people qualify for that? How do children qualify? Is this for low income or English learners or just anyone?
So that's ELOP. It's actually run by the school district. And at Acacia, we have a partnership with them. So the school district offers many ELOP programs. I believe they're at most of their schools. And the schools identify the kids that get the program, and it is a free program paid for by the school district. So at Acacia, we actually help them with that program. So the teachers do the tutoring portion of it, and then we do the recreational and craft enrichment part of it.
Okay, I was
And then-
just wondering how that was working.
Yeah,
So
it
it's
works
just a-
great. I think this is our third year with Acacia.
So this is basically an after-school tutoring program and you're just adding an enrichment portion to it?
Yeah.
Okay. And is it only at Acacia?
We are only assisting at Acacia,
Okay,
but they run the program at many schools.
but without CRPD
Correct.
adding the enrichment?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. No, yes, Director Huffer.
Just a quick comment. I do appreciate the monthly calendar that you put in here, Rochelle. It's very helpful. And I was wondering, one of the items you had noted there was the start of the reign of terror. Since there's an outside possibility it might be the last year, are you going to take advantage of that?
No, I'll be happy to be security in the line, but I will not go in the building. No. But it is exciting. It is starting the end of the month, and Bruce and his wife do an awesome job. And so it's in a new location. So I'm sure there'll be all sorts of new things, and it'll be great to go and see.
Where's the new location?
It's at the Jan's Mall still, but it's changed to the Burlington Coat Factory building. So it's
Yeah.
right next to Sharky's. So that's where it is now. It's on the bottom level. I want to say he has over 125 like rooms in it.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
yeah.
I wish I was brave enough to go in that. I really do.
Even in
I'm
the
such a
light, I have a
chicken.
hard time, but
Yeah,
it's
I'm such
it's
a
an
chicken.
amazing thing. And he gets people from all over that
Oh, yeah.
come to check it out. So, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Now we're moving on to item 12, department reports, starting with Park Division. Mr. Mooney.
Thank you, Chair Lang, members of the board. Just a quick update. We do have some progress for our Conejo Creek West and Conejo Creek Northwest kind of assessment outreach. So we're going to be putting together, working with Rochelle's folks, but doing some marketing on the next fall winter program guide that's going to be coming out in October or late September into October. And so we're looking at doing some survey work as well as just reaching out to the general community. I'll be a contact for it, but just really kind of getting to see what the community would like to do at their district-wide facility. So just giving you a heads up on that. We would have a website with information and update that like we've done with some of our other longer-term projects. And then also, we are doing a bit of work at Conejo Creek North. So Willow Bend is getting a refresh with some of the turf. We've been doing some thinning for some of the trees out there, as well as we're going to be doing some hardscape work with the stage and doing some replacement and repair work out there. But it'll be looking good here in the next couple weeks to month or so when we get that back and open, as well as we're doing some other landscaping work on the north side of the park. We call it the triangle, but it's basically before you get to the first ground shed as you turn north into the park by the lakeside turf area. So we're going to be doing some landscaping there and kind of freshening up the park over there to make it more usable for the public. So with that, I'm available for questions.
Any questions of Mr. Mooney? Park? A member of the public has approached me a couple times in reference to the pedestrian access to Conejo Creek North Park. and they complain about the roads, and it's dangerous. Why, I told them that is not the design, those are for cars. The pedestrian access is actually from the parking lot of the library and the bridge. But could there be some more signage directing pedestrians to use the bridge? The access to Conejo Creek North Park is this way or something. Because I've mentioned this, last time this person contacted me on that same topic, when we designed, and I was around, when we designed Conejo Creek North Park, those roads were for cars and the pedestrians were supposed to be using that bridge access.
Yeah, and so the tricky part there is a lot of people are doing their like loop walking path. So they're doing a big loop around the park. We do have signage as you exit because we've had some issues with pedestrians and vehicles, but we have put signs up, but not so successful, unfortunately, at the exit, at the narrow exit near the teen center. But something we can take a look at. We can further take a look at it, but we've had limited success with people following the rules, unfortunately, staying out of the roadway.
Understand.
We do have a project like master plan. It's parking, some circulation elements, which would include pathways. That's in our capital plan. That's something I believe we added and combined our last budget cycle. So that would be coming up in the coming years. So that's something that we could further take a look at to make it more accessible. So
Good. Glad you're addressing that and aware of that. And yeah, you can tell these people, certain things, but it doesn't sink in and they're back at you in a couple more, further years. Okay, moving on to item B, Recreation Division report. Ms. Callis.
Thank you, Chair Lang, members of the board. Just a couple of things, because now you guys get that beautiful report that Raquel sitting back here puts together for you guys and the calendar that she does also. I don't have a lot to talk about, but I do want to say a little shout out to Tim Dewar. He put the concerts together and we had another great year. So he did, I think Melissa Smith, or not Smith, Rufio had suggested the Spasmatics, which was also a great success. I do think Jim's favorite band ever to play at the park. But the last couple weeks have been kind of quiet. The end of summer was awesome. Staff are kind of regrouping. We're getting ready for the fall. We're having good sign up so far, had a game. We have a lot of programs that are going to be happening at schools, school partnership type things, recess programs, a bunch of different things that are going on. So the staff are really working hard to make connections within the schools and offer some interesting programs. Also, just something that might happen in the near future. There might be a family roller skate night at the teen center that maybe some of you might like to join me at. We'll
Hint,
see.
hint.
It will be a fundraiser, I think, for Play Conejo if it happens. So could be fun.
Do you have to own your own roller skates?
Yes, I do not think we know of anybody who rents roller skates. I do own my own. I'd be happy to let you borrow them if you're an 8.5.
Oh, I am.
I also have knee pads, elbow pads for you. I don't wear a helmet though.
No, we did that as a birthday party not too many years ago, and it's interesting how that comes back so
Yes.
quickly.
And I will be in charge of the 4-corner game. Very excited about it. With that, I'm available for questions.
Any questions for Ms. Callis? I noticed in the staff report, estimated 7,000 attendees for the Taylor Swift concert in the staff report.
Mhm.
And the Memorial Day, what was the final estimation of attendance for that? 6,000?
I do not remember off the top of my head for Memorial Day. I'd have to look at it.
Yeah, I know it was kind of moving around, the attendance number was kind of moving around for a week or two. And I don't but it was around 6,000, I think. But thinking about, all the concerts that we provide the community and the number of people, I had an individual, his wife and daughter who were supposed to be there were sick, so he was by himself. So he just had to have somebody to talk to. So after the concert, we've spent about 20 minutes, talking about how much he appreciates our community in the various activities and specifically the concert. But when you step back and look at, 5,000 here, 7,000 there, et cetera, we touch a lot of people and we impact a lot of people in a positive way. So yes, I'm glad you mentioned Tim's contribution. As chair, naturally, I'm involved with all the concerts, but Tim is excellent. Okay. No further questions on Recreation Division. Someone we haven't heard from for a few seconds, Management Services Division.
I have no report, but I'm available for questions.
She has given a lot of information tonight. Any other comments or questions associated with her division? Okay, we're moving on to the General Manager's Report. Mr. Friedel.
Yes, thanks, Chair Lang. A bunch of quickie updates, information pieces. On August 22nd, we had the CRPD candidate for the board election briefing meeting, and I thought it went very well, although I have a couple of folks here that might have their own opinions, but I actually really enjoyed it and meeting the candidates and stuff. So it's awesome to see that we have, folks willing to step up and hold themselves out for office. So hats off to you guys for doing that. And for sure, we're going to be joined by a new person. Someone's retiring. So we will for sure have a new person up here beginning in December. So on 9/6, which is tomorrow night, I just wanted to give you a heads up that Ventura County Sheriff's is going to be doing nighttime search and rescue training inside Sopwith. So if somebody calls you and says, what the heck is going on there? It's training. 9/17, couple weeks from now, the staff is going to have active shooter training, which is really unfortunate that is a thing that we have to do, but we have to do that. It is during I think this is September's preparation month, or just a generic be ready, but we will be doing that with all staff. A reminder that on 9/19, next Thursday, 2 weeks from now, the CRPD board meeting is canceled, and we are going to be at elected officials night at Reagan Library to hear a speaker about water, expert on water for that night. Wanted to mention that a shout out and a word of appreciation to both our senator and assembly person, Jackie Irwin and Henry Stern, on a bill that the CRPD weighed in on. Last minute, it got changed. Right at the end of session, language got added that was not acceptable, and they both voted no, which is what we and League of California Cities, Special Districts Association, counties, anyone who collects impacts fees, we're urging a no vote. But sort of the last minute changearoo and the impact it'll have on us we weren't able to overcome it. So it is now, we're going to be trying to get the governor to veto the bill, but whether that happens, Henry was the only no vote in the whole Senate. There was a bunch that laid off that didn't vote, abstained, but he was the only actual no vote. So our guys went to bat for us. Projects at the city, I think Andrew mentioned virtually everything, but the Rancho Potrero Community Question Center lighting project is going to the city, or the city is sent the mailer out. So that's
correct. Yeah, it's in process with planning, but that's from a administrative staff level. That's not going planning committee.
Right. So it's just a staff hearing at this point. And then you didn't mention, but Conejo Community was also going maybe in October to the city.
Correct. Yeah, tentatively scheduled for the same meeting as the skate park, if all goes well with the city planning process.
It'll be a CRPD night at the Planning Commission. I am out all next week. I'm on vacation, and we have the California Special Districts Association, an excellent conference. Many of you have been. It really is a truly excellent conference. And we have an interesting alignment of things. We have all of our administrators are going to be attending, which I'm grateful for because it's really great training. So our acting general manager is going to be the one and only park superintendent, Mr. Matt Kuba. So I'll give you his cell phone and encourage you to call him late at night if you're not able to sleep. Yeah. But with that, appreciate you guys. And in a very short 2 hours and 10 minutes, you guys got through a lot of meaty stuff. This is a good agenda tonight. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager. We're now moving on to item E, Director's Reports and Follow-up Reports on Meetings and Conferences Attended. I'm going to go to the left. Director
Okay.
Nichols.
I attended the concert in the park on July 21st. July 31st, I attended Tamara Tenero's retirement picnic at Dos Vientos. August 1st, I attended the California Association of Rec and Park Districts Legislative Committee meeting. Also the Tex Ward tribute that afternoon. September 2nd, the concert in the park. And then last evening, on behalf of the California Association of Recreation and Park Districts, I gave an awards presentation to the Pleasant Valley Recreation and Park District because they were not able to attend the annual conference. And then just as a follow-up to what our general manager mentioned about our local representatives, because of our relationship with the California Association of Rec and Park Districts and the legislative advocacy that we have through them, they sent out some quick emails. Please help. Our general manager put together some very poignant and effective emails to both of those. I just forwarded it with my name as well, said, hey, we could use your support. Actually got a response from the senator. Well, these are good points. Thanks for the note. You know, and just like within a matter of hours, this happened. And just because of the relationships that we have. And that's how the organization works. So kudos to our staff, again, the general manager for his active involvement. I know several of our staff will attend those meetings, our legislative committee meetings, which can be a little draining sometimes, but effective nonetheless. And so hopefully the results do pay off. We'll see what the governor actually does in this case. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome, and thank you for your extra efforts. Definitely appreciated and got results. Okay, Director Buss. Oh, I'm sorry. You mentioned the memorial for General Manager Emeritus Tex Ward, and I wanted to thank all of CRP staff who helped put that together and participated in making that I thought an excellent event, and considering, you know, it was a memorial service. So thank you, staff. Okay, sorry.
So I visited the Old Meadows Center, and I also visited the Thousand Oaks Community Center in July. And they were really interesting to go and talk to them, and especially to hear what's going on with our therapeutics programming and their staffing issues that they're having with some of the great staff leaving, but hopefully maybe they filled it by now. And the concert in the park. So, there you go.
Okay, would you share with the audience why you were visiting these different venues and so forth?
Well, visiting them because I feel that being on the board, I've visited them throughout living here since I was 6, but it's been a long time to some of them. So then to see them and meet the staff and who's running there, because you have all these special presentations. And so the first year that I was on the board, you're seeing people talking about things, and I wanted to go and physically see the facilities in which they're talking about that these presentations are happening at. So it's been really great. Jim has been joining me, and he even says that he enjoys it and getting out there and just, you know, seeing the facilities. And yeah, because we go through a full tour of every facility, even the storage closets, all of it. So yeah, but it's just a great way to be able to see the facilities if you're not in them regularly. The parks are easy to visit on your own, but the facilities aren't always there, and there's not always staff there to tell you what is going on at the facilities. So I just go to one once a month. And it's
So-
been a great experience.
So take note. Okay, Director Testworth.
So I was at, a lot of the things you talked about. I loved the Spasmatics. They were so much fun. And I thought, oh, I don't even know 80s music. I was just had babies all through the 80s and I knew all those songs.
Yeah.
And so that was so much fun to dance to. And I've never seen so many people up dancing. Of course, I wasn't at the Taylor Swift, so maybe they had a lot of kids up dancing there, but
Yeah.
huge audience participation at that. So kudos to Tim. Something that I went to, Jim was at, was the cricket tournament that they had. And, you know, we have the first cricket pitch in Ventura County and one of the only ones in Southern California. What was interesting about this, the reason I went is that they advertised that it was blind cricket players playing. And I thought, okay, that's really interesting. How do people who are blind play cricket? So that was a big draw for me. And they have balls that make noise. And they also have people that talk, and they have different levels of blindness. But what I didn't really focus in on from the flyer that they sent to us is that this is the world champion blind cricket team. And so like they were
From India, yeah.
that they're from India, all of these people, and they were going to be playing a tournament. They did an exhibition tournament, which is what I stayed for, but then they were going to play a full 6 hours, which I did not stay for, with our local cricket team. And I was talking to one of the older guys, one of the guys that was coming here all the time to talk to us about cricket. And he said, no, they're playing the younger guys. And I said, why? And he goes, because the younger guys are better than us older guys, and these guys are really good. So it's actually hard to beat the blind cricket team. So they made some adjustment for them. But what I wanted to tell that I think is interesting is that was being a live broadcast at our Pepper Tree Playfield to India.
Oh my
That
gosh.
people were watching that from India. And they were also going to be playing, was it SoFi Stadium?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I mean, this was like a really big deal in the cricket world. And they were at our cricket pitch, and I talked to the fellows there and I said, well, how is the cricket pitch holding up? I mean, they're coming here. This must be a good cricket pitch. He goes, it's holding up really well. It's being used. We're having tournaments here. And I thought of that when they were saying we were the first ones to have the skate park here. And then at the silent auction, I am now taking the disc golf lessons because I'm so bad at it, even after 5 years. And so I was talking to Mike Byrne, and we were, of course, the first ones who had a disc golf tournament here. So, I mean, our little CRPD is really quite innovative. So it made me very proud. I also wanted to say that at the Stagecoach Inn, we had a timber school celebration, 100 years of the 1924 timber school. And Larry Jans came and talked because he went to timber school. And he gave a very interesting presentation, and he was very happy. And we had, quite a few displays, and it was very well attended. So that was very nice. I was at the VCSDA meeting. And also with Tex, I thought that the Tex Awards was so beautiful. All of those birds kept flying up behind. It was just incredibly touching. And I also went to, I love that you're going to see all those. I haven't seen all the storage closets. Maybe I should start going. And then you
Some of
also
them
went
are
up in the
better
attic one time
organized.
too, didn't you?
Yeah.
But one thing I did that is Jim met me over at the Crowley House, which is a historic landmark and is in horrible disrepair and probably not something that we really want to repair, but CRPD is making an effort to keep up the obligation to keep our historic landmarks going, which of course you all know that's very important to me. I like historic landmarks, obviously. So good things. Oh, and one other thing, I looked to see Jacobs, my grandson and I, we gave him for his birthday, this thing that will, a launcher for planes. little foam planes. So it wasn't launching very far in our backyard. So I said, okay, let's go to the Conejo Community Park because they have that slope. And he goes, oh yeah, we know we go there all the time. It's near our house. So we went there and we're launching it and it gets up in a tree. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe they have a broom or something over at the community center. But right at that time, up comes the CRPD maintenance man in his truck. So I went up and said, can you get our plane from the tree? He had the equipment and he retrieved our plane. And that was Jacob, one of the Jacobs who works at that center. So I want to thank Jacob for saving the plane for me and Nick. So our great staff, CRPD to the rescue. All right.
Thank you, Director Kessler. Director Huffer.
Not too many meetings the last couple of months. We did get to the Ventura County Special District Association that Director Cussworth mentioned. Did have my annual meeting with Jim. We did the meeting hiking. What's the name of the trail up above the Y there? Wishbone Trail. And after we hiked the Wishbone Trail, he took me on a tour of the YMCA there, which I had not been through. And Jim thought it'd be a great thing to duplicate here in Thousand Oaks, but good luck with that. All we do is find someone like whoever it was that funded the YMCA. Also showed me that they're just working on it, but the pickleball courts that they're putting in over there, I had to get back and see once it's actually finished. So I appreciate the tour over there. Did get to the last couple of concerts. The Taylor Swift concert was so cute. All these little girls running around with their sparkling dresses. And I told several people they must have reduced the average age of our concert goers by about 30 years. And Spasmatics were a lot of fun. At the very end of the Spasmatics, they invited about 10 or 15 little girls to come up and dance on stage with them. So, and it is great to see all those people dancing in front there, having so much fun. I watched from afar, but it's great to see everybody participating in those. What else? We had our second to last monthly session of the tax program over Conejo Creek South through the CSVP program. So we'll have one more month in early October, and then we'll be through with that. And I think that's about all that was going on the last couple of months. Looking forward to the Haunted Trail, the end of October. I've got my Seattle grandson's going to be in for that, so I'll report on that after that happens. So that's all.
Thank you, Director Huffer.
Can I just make a quick comment?
You sure may.
My granddaughter was dancing on the stage at the Spagmatics. She was one of them.
Okay, I participated in most all of those events, multiple events, all the concerts, etc., BCSDA, etc. And in addition, Santa Monica Mountain Conservancy meetings and the MRCA, couple of 3 or 4 of those. And just keeping myself off the street and busy because in the not too distant future, I won't have this opportunity to be with you great people and experience all the good things that we have done for our community. And so I'm going to miss you. But you did mention VCSDA, and if you were at the last meeting, they said that myself, because there's 2 board members from Rancho Simi Rec and Park District also retiring, but VCSDA said that they're going to allow us to attend their meetings as guests. So I thought that was, very nice, so I'll still see some of you in those meetings, so.
You can come here as a guest too.
Yeah.
There's plenty of seats.
Yeah.
And George, you did learn your lesson about setting up your chairs at the concert a little bit earlier than you did for the last concert. So
Yeah, I always try, my wife and I always try and get there, early in the morning or sometimes the night before. And this last time, I got there too late and there was no place in the shade that was left. And that's not a good thing for my wife with her fair skin and so forth. So Chuck came by and found a shady spot for my wife. Yeah. But anyway, and again, I think I mentioned that after the concert, I had a 20-minute conversation with this one fella who just went on and on about CRPD, so. Well done. Okay, item 13, request for status reports and items for subsequent agendas. Do we have any items want to cover? Okay, items from the public. Do we have any public? Nope. Executive closed session. We already had a closed session. And with that, this meeting is adjourned, and also we don't have a meeting. Next time will be at the American Water Association presentation at the Reagan Library.
And our
Which-
next meeting is on October 3rd.
Thank you. I appreciate that.